Well, we're trying to delve into this apparent war that's going on between the Ontario government and a lot of pharmacists in Ontario over these professional allowances and the fact that generic drug prices are going to drop quite a bit for the rest of us. If you'd like to join us in conversation anywhere in Ontario, here's the number to call, 1-800-968-7836. And we have in our Mississauga studio Ben Shenouda. He is a community pharmacist and the president and CEO of the Independent Pharmacists Association of Ontario. Ben Shenouda, you heard the health minister herself. How do you react to what she was saying this evening?
I would like to comment on a couple of things the minister have said. Pharmacists of Ontario are not against reduction of prices of generic. Actually, we are for that, and we are also supporting reduction on brand name, because brand name is more than 74% of the budget of the drug. We are not against elimination of professional allowance. The only thing we're asking, and the minister failed to mention this anywhere in the media or even on today's program, that the pharmacists in Ontario are paid the least dispensing fee in the whole country. She always come up with a question, why are we paying more prices for generic? The minister is the one responsible for pricing the medication. We have no power over this. It's her own responsibility. But in the meantime, she also failed to mention that she was taking about $750 million out of the system and giving us back $100 million.
So the money you're getting back and the dispensing fee won't be enough, even though you say you want a higher dispensing fee, that money coming back, the $100 million, is not going to replace the money that you're going to forego.
Exactly. It's like taking out of the system $3 and giving me $1 back. So how can you expect me to maintain the same quality and level of service I'm providing to Ontarians now? But
when you say, Ben Shenouda, that you wanted the professional allowance, you're not against that. Was it the problem of professional allowances being discontinued for drugs under the drug plan and not being discontinued under drugs sold to everybody else? Is that the dividing line?
This one of the things, but we already discussed this with the discussion with the ministry, and we agreed about elimination of professional allowance. Actually, it was in our proposal that professional allowance would be eliminated.
Well, I guess she took you up on it.
Yeah, but that's okay. We're not against elimination of professional allowance, but we need to be compensated fairly for the service we provide. You cannot take the money, ask us to provide the service, and not to pay us. How can we do that?
Okay. All right, let's go back to Susan then. Would you react to what Ben Shenouda is saying, Susan?
There are two really important things here. The point is that nobody wants to put pharmacists out of business. Certainly that's
We need pharmacists, of course, for crying out loud.
And that's been the outcry. But I think you have to make a huge distinction from the truly independent, single, smaller pharmacy who actually looks after their own business risk, and the huge chains for whom the pharmacists actually don't get any of this money, the chain does. So when you talk about taking $750 million out of the system and only putting back $100 million, it could be that the people who actually provide these services and will in the future get paid for them on a billed basis, they will get a billing number just like doctors do, that they might actually cover
the pharmacists themselves you're talking about, not the companies.
That's right. The pharmacists themselves might actually recoup all that they lost through this, or a good part of it. It's the people who don't intend ever to provide those consulting services that are going to lose out, because they will both lose the rebate and lose the opportunity to charge for those services.
And to my way of thinking, the money isn't necessarily being taken out of the system. It's given to the rest of us in savings on the price of generic drug prescriptions, isn't it? I mean, I don't consider that being taken out of the system as much as I think it's going to cost me less if I have a generic drug prescription.
May I comment on this?
Yeah, please, Ben, and then I'll go to Christine Elliott. Go ahead, please.
I will comment on your point that you think the system will hold itself, and this is not really taken out of the system. As we speak now, the cost to fill the prescription, and this is supported with 3 independent studies that have been done.
Okay.
Anywhere between $13.77 and $14.9. So yes, dollars to fill one prescription. The government now, as we speak, is paying us $7 to fill that. The professional allowance system was designed by the McGuinty government in 2006 with the purpose of filling in those $7 gap.
without increasing the dispensing fee at the time, the professional allowances did that for them and for you.
Exactly. It was a free ride on the back of the generic companies.
All right.
So, and we said, okay, that's fine as long as we get the cost to fill the prescription. Now the government is taking away the $7 subsidy from the professional allowance. So the government, theoretically and practically, should pay us the $7, the gap.
Make up the whole difference. Make up the whole difference. Yeah.
Exactly. That's one thing. The other thing, coming to Susan's point about filling or getting the professional fee by doing more things, I agree with her that the professional fee is good, but it's not good enough. The professional fee is only $100 million. And we already have made studies, and we shared this with the ministry, that we will use 80 cents to get back $1 in professional service, which means that the $100 million will come back to pharmacy industry as $20 million. Yes, you may think theoretically it's a very nice idea to get the pharmacists to be paid because you have something against the pharmacies, but as a matter of fact, for the pharmacist to do this kind of job, he needs technology, and that's investment on the pharmacy side.
All right. Let me just do some math before I go to Christine Elliott. So $750 million is yanked back in professional allowances. $100 million comes back to you guys, but that doesn't make the dispensing fee high enough to cover the cost. So would it take all $750 million to do that?
No. It will
How much would it take?
It will take the fair compensation in our proposal. It will take something close to the $14.
Well, what would that mean in the total? The $750 million is what's at stake here in terms of professional allowance fees that are being yanked back. Some of that we want for savings when we buy drugs. How much of it would have to be spent in order to give you that $14 or so in dispensing fees? Have you guys done the math on that?
Let me just give you the right math here, Dale.
Okay.
It's not $750 million. It's actually $1.1 billion taking out of, the industry.
Then it makes an even larger point.
Exactly, because this is a combination of the professional allowance plus the markup on the reduced generic medication.
Okay, I've got you. All right.
Yeah.
But again, you haven't answered my question about the $14 dispensing fee. If $100 million is coming back, including a little increase in the dispensing fee, how much would it cost to increase the dispensing fee to where you need it to be, $14?
You can make the math. The Ontario Drug Benefit is doing 100 million prescription a year. If you need to fit in a gap of 7, so you talk about 700 million.
Well, then that's the whole.
That's exactly a professional allowance.
Well, but so it goes out of what? So it becomes a paperwork, and it has nothing to do with the rest of us then.
It will.
Right?
It will be the saving. It will be a saving from 50%. It will be saving from 50% on the brand to 25%.
Okay. I think. All right. Okay. Let me hear from Christine Elliott on that. Have you been writing down some of these numbers? Do you get this so far?
I do. I think the real problem here is the gap between the real cost of filling the prescription and what the pharmacists are currently being paid.
Which seems to be considerable.
It is considerable, and that's why the professional allowances were brought forward by the McGuinty government. This gap has been long outstanding. This isn't a new thing. The McGuinty government brought this forward as a way of addressing this somewhat, to allow the pharmacists to be able to continue to do some of these extra things. Everybody agrees this is a bad model. We shouldn't be operating on this. We should be increasing the dispensing fees over time. But we're trying to save money in the system and so on. The pharmacists came forward with a proposal that would have saved several $100 million a year, but they wanted to transition it over a few years.
Okay, so that's several $100 million. Say it's $200 or $300 million. Is that fair to say, Ben?
It's $1.3 billion over 4 years.
No, I'm talking about the... No, don't do that. Now, I know, but now you're confusing the issue.
You know,
Susan Ng, can you confuse the issue further? Or are you going to explain it for
I can always confuse.
All right.
But here's what happened. These rebates were being paid without a lot of reporting beforehand. And they were all over the map. They could have been 70% of the brand price or whatever, of the total price of the drug. And those amounts were being paid. The government came in and basically reduced the ones that they were going to build into the public pay drugs to 20%. They didn't say, here's 20%. They said, the 70% comes down to 20 across the board. They didn't say, here's 20%. And they kept it at 20 instead of 0 because of the argument that the pharmacists were going to provide services for that money. And now what they did was audit that to see if that indeed happened. They found there was a lot of abuse, that not everybody was providing services. And so they decided, instead of a